Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. I'm glad to see you guys back again, and we're back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about how to uncover your story. I don't know if you guys watched my previous video. If you guys did, appreciate you. But in the last video, we were talking about the power of your story and why your power is very important. The reason why I mentioned this is because I gave a quick storytelling about a girl named Jenna who was a housewife and how her story dictated her life, and how when she discovered it and then made an effort to change her story, the difference that it made for her, her family, and her kids, and for the future generation that she has, right? So today, I'm pretty sure after watching that video, most people were asking themselves, well, how do I find my story? Well, don't worry. Today we're going to be talking about that, and you guys will be seeing me looking down a lot because I wrote some very important notes, because this video is going to have a lot of exercise and action steps that you guys need to take and take practice of, which will really help you if you want to really seriously find your story and figure out some of the things that are stopping you from getting the things that you want, right? So let's get into it, and let's stay tuned. Well, the first thing that I realized as I was reading this chapter, or this verse of the chapter, is that a lot of things really do happen in areas of your life, right? So the first thing it asks us to do is to think about the area of your life that you want to have the biggest breakthrough, right? This is a question that the author poses to ask yourself, whether what part of your life are you really trying to improve the most? Is it the fact that you want to be able to make more money, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people would want to do? Is it that you want to have or be in better shape, or be more healthy, or be in a better condition, look much more fit? Is that an area you want to have a breakthrough? Is it you in your job trying to get to the next level of a position, a career, or get to a certain level where you're making a certain amount of money? All right? Because a lot of people who are in the corporate life, that's very important to them because their career becomes a big part of their life, right? So there's multiple areas that people would possibly want to have a breakthrough. So you have to now take your time and really think, what are some of the areas that I want to have a breakthrough, right? Once you figure that out, the next thing he wants us to do is to ask yourself, what are the reasons that is stopping you from achieving those breakthroughs, right? And write those reasons down, because this is going to be very important in the part when it comes to writing your story. Obviously, the steps that I've mentioned so far should be easy to some, but difficult for most, because these are some of the things that you have to do a lot of self-reflecting and accountability, and it could be very difficult because to some, this might be the first time they're asking themselves these certain questions, right? So stay tuned, and we'll go through it slowly by slowly, some of the things you can be doing and some questions that you can be doing to make it an easier process for you, right? So next, some examples, or maybe some certain factors that is stopping you from your breakthrough that the author gives. Maybe it's the economy that's affecting you. Maybe it's the lack of time. Maybe it's your boss. You know, some people have some terrible bosses. Maybe it's the employees, the people you work with. Maybe it's your unsupportive spouse. Some people who are married who are watching this video might not have a supportive wife or a girlfriend that is supporting you and just, bringing issues. Maybe it's your education. Maybe it's the lack of capital. A lot of people don't have money to start what they want. That could be a very big factor. Maybe it's your health or your relationships that you have with your friends, your family, etc. Right? These are some of the factors that the author gives to kind of help you get that ball rolling, to figure out what yours are specifically, because everyone is different depending on where they are in life, right? After that, it asks you to focus on what comes to mind when you think why you haven't reached the point of your life that you desire. When you want to grow in any area of your life and you can't seem to find it, it's mostly because there's a story that's holding you back. That basically is a wall, right? So if you don't know why I'm not getting better, why I'm not making more money, why am I not getting in shape, right? there's obviously a reason why, because your subconscious is giving you an excuse that's allowing you to not be able to achieve the certain goal that you want in your life, right? And this is really important, because once you discover what that is, you're able to change it. And once you're able to change it, you are now able to move forward, because a lot of people are really stuck at where they're at because they never improved, because they never discovered the problem that they have, right? Once you discover a problem, you are then able to find a solution to it, and then you're able to solve the problem. So let's continue. The next thing is that you're going to be doing some exercises. I'm going to be leaving it down on the comment below, because the author has actually something called he calls a negative story exercise sheet, which I will be leaving down below, where it's going to ask you some questions and factors so you can find it better to figure out what you need to be figuring out, right? Also, the previous chapter where I talked about your inner villain is very vital when it comes to discovering your story. And why is that? The reason why is because when I was, a good example is when I was talking about the story about Jenna, which you guys can check in my YouTube channel down below. She had a story that was very well, she was living a good life in the beginning, where she was just taking care of her husband, her children, and she was devoted to being a housewife. But the inner villain, during certain moments of weakness or certain thoughts, when you have certain thoughts and you're thinking about something, your inner villain will use its factors as its weapons to start creating negative stories, and it will let it linger, because your inner villain is very patient. It understands that it's going to take some time to get you into a certain position, right? So it doesn't have any problem taking its sweet time to figure out how to implement certain stories to affect you, right? So it could be the factor of where maybe you hear a lot of negative news around you, where you start having certain stories because of that, right? Maybe depending on your surroundings, a lot of people have been telling you, hey man, you're really weak at this area. Focus majority of your time to become stronger at your weaknesses. And remember, when one of the videos that I talked about, it's better for you to work on your strengths rather than your weaknesses. So when people tell you, man, you're really bad at this, you should work on this, that could implement you, because now you're wasting majority of your time on something that you're bad at, when you could be focusing that time on something that you're good at, right? Maybe some of that could be that some of your friends are giving you really bad advice, and that bad advice has lingered and deteriorated you from not doing what you had. Maybe it was an idea you had, you talked to your friends, you're like, hey man, this is the reason why it wouldn't work out for you. And then the certain factors that I said, they might start telling you, hey man, you broke. They might tell you, you don't know how to do this, you don't have the network to do this, you right? So certain people in your life could be a big factor to depending where you end up being in the future, right? So what I'm doing now is just really giving you ideas of you guys to start figuring out some of your stories, right? Remember, figure out what areas of your life that you want to improve in, what certain areas you want to have breakthroughs at. The next step is to then figure out what is stopping you from getting those breakthroughs. And then also, if you don't know what those things are or those factors, try to figure out the story or the excuses you keep telling yourself when you're trying to achieve that goal. If you do that, you need to backtrail it to figure out who implemented this. When did you start thinking about this story, right? Because that has been happening to you subconsciously. Because at this point where now you don't even have to think about it, and you're already implementing these negative stories because they've been lingering slowly and they've become a part of your subconscious. You think you will do it without even having to think about it, right? And we need to change that in order for you to become more successful and have a better achievement of what you want out of life. Because if you can change your subconscious to have it in a positive direction with positive stories, you're now moving subconsciously without even thinking about it into a positive direction. And that's the goal that we have by creating new habits. And that's what the author is trying to achieve right here, right? Now, once you've written it down, right? Let me see where we at. Well, some of you might say to yourself that you don't have a story, right? and that's not a part of your reality, which is a very good excuse. It's not an excuse, but it's a very good reason to have, because some people have never thought about what their story is, right? So the author here is going to be writing down some, like giving you a story to consider to help you kind of figure it out. And for those of you who are in that situation where you're trying to think about it and you're coming up empty because you're like, I don't think I have a story, what you guys should also do is really check out the video that I mentioned below about Jenna, because if you really listen to her story and how I explain it, you will kind of figure out the tempo of how things worked and how she kind of discovered her story through her life playing out, and how she was able to discover it and start changing it in order to move on. And I will be talking in further videos on how you can first discover it and then change it, right? But right now, this video is focused on discovering that issue or that problem. So then the example that the author also used, he gives you another example besides the Jenna story from the previous video that I made. He mentions about certain people who maybe have grown up, like maybe their grandparents or their parents are people who experienced depression, right? So the last major one obviously happened in 2007 to 2009. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know about it. And those people who've gone through that experience had to live a different life compared to the ones we're living right now. Why do I say this? Because, for example, during those times, saving was very vital to the livelihood of a lot of families. In that type of situation, most families really had to buckle down and save every dollar they had. If they didn't, they would be ruined. A lot of families at that type of time were in survival mode, right? A lot of families were really struggling just to like get enough money to pay their bills and survive. Not a lot of people were in the mindset of, oh, let me invest, let me risk, let me try to get a return on investment. Most people weren't thinking that. Most people at that time were like, hey, I'm trying to feed my family. We need food on our table. What do I need to do that? That type of life experience can really affect someone because of that. That becomes a part of their story because they've gone through that and they've survived that, right? So now when they have kids and they try to implement certain things, they're going to implement what they've gone through. They're going to implement and basically give their story to their children and guide them through what they've went through. And some of that could be implementing certain exercises where they tell you, hey, I need you to save. Forget about investing. That's too risky, right? Some of them might be very conservative because they don't want you to end up in the same situation where now you're fighting to survive. You need to have every dollar in order to be able to pay the next bill, right? And this story that could be basically grandfathered in from the previous generation can affect you a lot with how you handle things once you grow up, because this is what some of you might have experienced, what you went through them, and some of them, this is what your parents keep hammering into you, and it becomes a part of your subconscious because the first teachers in your life are typically your parents, right? So this is the example that the author really gives out, because your story is very vital. Like I said, it can dictate your religion. It can dictate your, like, how you handle money. It can dictate how you handle relationships. It can dictate how you take care of yourself, right? Because of your story, that really dictates everything in your life, right? So now, what we need to do after that, off of that example, hopefully that is really being able to give you a kind of picture of what some of the stories might happen to in your life. And the reason why this is very vital is because when you are the type of person that's trying to start a business, trying to make more money, trying to be in better physical shape, you need to write down the beliefs and stories that come into your mind that you want to improve, right? Because if you are able to improve those beliefs and stories, you're able to have a better chance at achieving those goals, right? So what we have to do next is now write down the beliefs that came from, if they're like many people, typically you will examine your beliefs and you'll be able to dictate like who gave you that belief. Maybe you'd be like, oh my God, that's the same thing my dad does. Oh, that's the same thing my mother does, because that's where I learned it from. Oh, maybe it could be a teacher. You'd be like, oh, someone influential in your life, like a teacher. Be like, oh, I got this from this person, right? Oh, I got this from my friends, right? Because we always imitate somebody. Maybe it could be a movie actor or that you liked, or an idol that you adored since you were a young child, and be like, oh, I want to be like him. Let me imitate how he's doing certain things, right? We need to figure this out, because some of these things are really deep rooted in us. It goes all the way back to childhood, and it's very difficult to remove or even discover, because now we have to really dig deep, right? But it's all worth it, because at this point you really have to ask yourself, if I'm not improving, if I'm not getting better, if I'm not achieving the things that I want, what's the point of living anymore, right? If I'm just living to survive and not living to thrive and be in a better position for the people around me to take care of and to do some of the achievements that I want, like what's the point of living, right? And a lot of us are stuck in this limbo situation where we don't go up or we don't go down. We just stay in the middle, and we're trying to just maintain that situation, right? But hopefully, I hope these exercises and some of the stuff that I've said is really important, and it gives you a spark to really think about when you're continuing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's pretty much it for right now. I hope you guys stay tuned. Please comment down below what are some of the things that you write about. Did I explain it properly? Maybe there's some things that you guys want to know about. Maybe you guys want me to do a live demonstration about how to do this exercise properly, right? Please comment down below anything that you want. If you want to ask me about certain things about your situation and you're trying to figure out but you're coming out blank, email me, all right? I'm more than willing to help you guys figure it out together, because what am I doing this for if not to help out, right? So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video I'm going to be making is about how this affects your life and how you can better improve your story after you've discovered it. I hope you guys stay tuned and enjoy this. Bye bye, and see you next time.